Picture yourself standing in the middle of an ancient landscape, surrounded by towering stones that have witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. These massive monoliths reach toward the sky like silent sentinels, each one weighing more than a dozen elephants combined. The wind whispers through gaps between the stones, carrying with it the echoes of ceremonies performed thousands of years ago. This is Stonehenge, one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. A puzzle carved in stone that has captivated minds for millennia. Tonight, we'll journey back through time to uncover the secrets behind this remarkable monument. Who were the people that moved these colossal blocks across vast distances? What drove them to invest generations of backbreaking labor into creating something so magnificent? And perhaps most intriguingly, what purpose did this ancient wonder truly serve? We'll explore theories that range from the scientifically compelling to the wonderfully bizarre, and discover how each generation has seen something different in these weathered stones. So just relax and let your mind drift as we explore the sleepy history of Stonehenge and the mystery of why it was really built. On the rolling plains of southern England, about 90 miles west of London, lies a monument that defies easy explanation. The landscape here is remarkably open, a sweeping expanse of grassland that stretches to the horizon in every direction. It's the kind of place where you can see for miles without obstruction, where the sky seems impossibly vast and the earth feels ancient beneath your feet. This is Salisbury Plain, and it's been drawing people to its heart for over 5,000 years. The monument we know today as Stonehenge didn't appear overnight. Like a great cathedral built over centuries, it evolved through multiple phases of construction, each generation adding their own vision to what came before. The story begins around 3100 BCE, when the first builders arrived with nothing more than antler picks and wooden shovels. They carved a circular ditch into the chalk bedrock, creating what would become the foundation for something extraordinary. But even before that first shovelful of earth was moved, this place held significance. Archaeological evidence suggests that wooden posts once stood here, tall pine timbers arranged in patterns that aligned with celestial movements. These mysterious markers, erected around 8000 BCE, hint at an even deeper history, suggesting that this particular spot on the English landscape possessed qualities that spoke to the human spirit across millennia. The people who first shaped this sacred space were farmers and herders, communities that had recently transitioned from the nomadic lifestyle of their hunter-gatherer ancestors. They lived in a world where the boundary between life and death felt permeable, where the movements of the sun and moon carried profound spiritual meaning. For them, this open plain represented something special, a place where earth met sky in perfect harmony. As centuries passed, the simple earthwork evolved into something far more ambitious. Around 2500 BCE, the first stones arrived, and with them came a transformation that would echo through history. These weren't just any stones. Some traveled incredible distances to reach this place, carried by people who believed so deeply in their mission that they were willing to transport multi-ton blocks across hundreds of miles of difficult terrain. The smaller stones, known today as bluestones, originated from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a journey of approximately 150 miles. Each stone weighed between 2 and 5 tons, yet somehow these ancient builders managed to move them across rivers, valleys, and mountains. The logistics alone boggle the modern mind. How do you convince an entire community to dedicate months or even years to such an undertaking? What vision could be so compelling that people would commit their lives to moving stones? But the bluestones were just the beginning. The builders had even grander plans in mind. They quarried massive sarsen stones from locations closer to home, each one weighing up to 30 tons. To put that in perspective, imagine trying to move something as heavy as a modern battle tank using only ropes, wooden rollers, and human muscle power. Yet somehow, they succeeded. not just in moving these giants, but in arranging them with mathematical precision into the patterns we see today. The construction process would have required unprecedented cooperation between different communities. Recent DNA analysis of remains found near the site reveals that the builders came from diverse backgrounds, some with ancestry tracing back to Anatolia in modern-day Turkey, others from various parts of Britain and Ireland. These weren't isolated tribes working alone, but rather a network of communities united by shared purpose. Archaeological evidence paints a picture of massive seasonal gatherings, times when hundreds or perhaps thousands of people converged on Salisbury Plain. Animal bones found at nearby settlements tell us about great feasts, with cattle and pigs slaughtered when they were about 9 months old. Theorings took place during winter timing suggest these Gaith months, possibly coinciding with the winter solstice when the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky. The work itself would have been both grueling and dangerous. Moving 30-ton stones without modern machinery required ingenious solutions. Archaeological experiments suggest the builders used a combination of wooden sledges, rope systems, and earthen ramps. They may have constructed temporary wooden railways to roll the massive stones across the landscape. Once at the site, the real challenge began, lifting these monoliths into vertical positions and somehow balancing horizontal stones on top to create the iconic trilithons we recognize today. The precision required for this final phase demonstrates sophisticated engineering knowledge. The builders carved intricate joints into the stones, using techniques borrowed from woodworking to create connections that would hold for millennia. They understood concepts of balance, leverage, and structural integrity that wouldn't look out of place in a modern engineering textbook. Each stone was carefully shaped and positioned, creating alignments that continue to inspire wonder today. As the monument took shape over the centuries, it became something unique in the ancient world. The massive outer ring of sarsen stones created an enclosed, sacred space, while the smaller blue stones formed complex patterns within. The heel stone, standing alone outside the main circle, marked a crucial alignment with the rising sun on the longest day of the year. This wasn't mere coincidence, but careful design that connected the earthbound monument with celestial movements. The people who built Stonehenge left no written records, no explanatory texts to guide our understanding. Instead, they spoke through stone and alignment, through the careful positioning of each element in their grand design. They created a monument that would outlast their language, their culture, and their very memory, leaving future generations to wonder at their achievements and puzzle over their intentions. The construction of Stonehenge represents one of humanity's earliest examples of large-scale collaborative engineering. It required not just physical strength and technical knowledge, but also the social organization necessary to coordinate complex projects across multiple generations. The builders had to develop systems for quarrying, transportation, and construction that pushed the boundaries of what was possible with Neolithic technology. What emerges from the archaeological evidence is a picture of ancient Britain as a far more sophisticated and interconnected place than once imagined. The builders of Stonehenge weren't primitive savages struggling for survival, but rather skilled craftspeople and engineers working within complex social networks that spanned the British Isles and beyond. They possessed knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and acoustics that challenges our assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. The monument they created would stand as testament to human ambition and ingenuity, weathering storms, invasions, and the passage of millennia. But the question that has fascinated scholars and visitors for centuries remains: what drove them to undertake such an enormous project? What purpose could justify the incredible investment of time, energy, and resources that Stonehenge represents? The answer to that question has sparked countless theories, each reflecting the hopes, fears, and knowledge of the people who proposed them. Some explanations focus on the practical, others venture into the mystical, but all attempt to bridge the gap between our modern understanding and the minds of people who lived over 4,000 years ago. One of the most compelling theories centers on Stonehenge's relationship with death and remembrance. Long before the first stones were erected, this site served as a burial ground, a sacred place where the living honored their dead. Cremated remains of at least 63 individuals have been discovered within the monument's boundaries, their ashes carefully placed in small pits around the circle. These weren't random burials, but deliberate acts of commemoration that suggest Stonehenge may have begun as humanity's first known crematorium. The evidence points to a sophisticated understanding of death rituals among these ancient communities. The cremated remains show evidence of careful preparation, with bones that had been burned at high temperatures in controlled fires. Some individuals appear to have been buried with grave goods, small personal items that accompanied them into whatever lay beyond. The presence of both men and women, adults and children, suggests this wasn't reserved for a select elite, but served the broader community's needs. But Stonehenge evolved beyond a simple cemetery into something far more complex. As generations passed, the monument's purpose appears to have shifted from honoring specific individuals to celebrating collective ancestry. The blue stones, originally perhaps serving as grave markers for particular people, were eventually reorganized into new configurations that spoke to broader themes of community and shared heritage. This transformation reflects a fundamental change in how these ancient people understood their relationship with the dead. Rather than focusing on individual memory, Stonehenge became a place where entire communities could gather to honor all their ancestors simultaneously. The monument served as a bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the dead, a place where past and present could meet in sacred communion. Archaeological evidence suggests that people traveled great distances to participate in ceremonies at Stonehenge. Isotope analysis of teeth and bones reveals that some of those buried here originated from as far away as the Scottish Highlands and continental Europe. This wasn't a local monument serving only nearby communities, but a destination that drew pilgrims from across the known world. The effort required to transport bodies such distances speaks to Stonehenge's reputation as a place of special power. The monument's connection to celestial movements adds another layer to its significance as a place of death and renewal. The winter solstice alignment, perfectly framed by the central trilithons, may have held particular meaning for ancient mourners. Winter represented the death of the year, but also the promise of renewal as days began to lengthen once more. For communities that had lost loved ones, this annual demonstration of death followed by rebirth could have provided profound comfort. Yet death alone cannot explain the monument's complexity. The acoustic properties of Stonehenge suggest it was designed as much for the living as for the dead. Modern experiments using scale models have revealed that the stone circle creates remarkable sound effects, amplifying voices and causing music to reverberate in haunting ways. Someone speaking from the center of the circle would have their voice enhanced by 4 decibels, making them easily audible to hundreds of listeners gathered around the stones. These acoustic properties would have seemed almost magical to people who had never experienced such effects before. Imagine the impact on ancient audiences when a priest or leader's voice suddenly gained supernatural power, echoing off the stones with otherworldly resonance. Music played within the circle would have taken on ethereal qualities, with notes lingering and blending in ways that transformed simple melodies into transcendent experiences. The discovery that many of the blue stones possess unique acoustic properties adds yet another dimension to this theory. When struck, these particular stones ring like bells, each producing distinct tones that could be combined into primitive musical scales. If the builders were aware of this property, it might explain why they were willing to transport such heavy stones across such vast distances. Stonehenge may have served as a massive musical instrument, its stones carefully tuned to create harmonious sounds during ceremonies. This musical aspect connects to broader theories about Stonehenge as a healing centre. The springs near the bluestone quarries in Wales have been considered sacred for thousands of years, their waters believed to possess curative powers. Perhaps the ancient builders thought these stones retained some of that healing energy, making them powerful tools for treating illness and injury. Several of the bodies found near Stonehenge show signs of significant trauma and deformity, suggesting that people may have journeyed here hoping for miraculous cures. The idea of Stonehenge as an ancient hospital isn't as far-fetched as it might initially seem. Many cultures have believed in the healing power of certain stones or locations, and the monument's reputation could have drawn the unsicked injured from great distances. The combination of sacred stones, healing waters associated with their origin, and the psychological impact of participating in powerful ceremonies could have provided real therapeutic benefits to desperate pilgrims. But healing and music represent just one facet of Stonehenge's possible purposes. The monument's precise astronomical alignments suggest its builders possessed sophisticated knowledge of celestial mechanics. The heel stone marks not just the summer solstice sunrise, but the winter solstice sunset can be observed perfectly, the central through trilithons. These alignments weren't accidental, but represented careful observation of sky patterns over many years. Some researchers have proposed that Stonehenge functioned as a kind of ancient observatory, allowing priest astronomers to track celestial movements and predict important events. The ability to forecast eclipses or determine the exact timing of solstices would have given its keepers tremendous power over surrounding communities. In an agricultural society dependent on seasonal rhythms, those who could read the sky held the keys to survival itself. This astronomical knowledge would have been closely guarded, passed down through generations of specialists who understood the complex relationships between stone positions and celestial events. The monument may have served as both teaching tool and reference guide, allowing astronomical knowledge to be preserved and transmitted across centuries. Each stone position could represent a different aspect of sky lore, creating a three-dimensional textbook written in sarsen and bluestone. The seasonal gatherings, suggested by archaeological evidence, support this astronomical interpretation. If Stonehenge served as a calendar, communities would need to gather at specific times to observe key celestial events and receive guidance about agricultural timing. The great feasts held during winter months may have coincided with crucial astronomical observations, combining practical knowledge sharing with spiritual celebration. However, the monument's complexity suggests it served multiple purposes simultaneously rather than fulfilling a single function. Like great cathedrals that combine worship, education, community gathering, and artistic expression, Stonehenge may have been designed as a multi-purpose centre that addressed various needs of ancient British society. Its builders created something that could serve as cemetery, temple, observatory, healing centre, and community gathering place all at once. This multifaceted approach reflects the sophisticated social organization required to conceive and build such a monument. The project demanded cooperation between different communities, coordination of specialized skills, and maintenance of shared vision across multiple generations. Stonehenge represents not just architectural achievement, but social engineering on an unprecedented scale for its time. The social implications of Stonehenge's construction reveal fascinating insights into prehistoric British society. Building such a monument required not just physical labor, but sophisticated project management that could coordinate efforts across decades or even centuries. Different communities would have contributed specialized skills, from stoneworkers who understood how to shape the massive blocks, to engineers who solved the complex problems of transportation and erection. Archaeological evidence suggests these ancient builders possessed knowledge that challenges our assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. The precision of the stone joints, carved with techniques borrowed from woodworking, demonstrates understanding of structural engineering principles. The mathematical relationships between different elements of the monument reveal familiarity with geometric concepts that wouldn't seem out of place in later civilizations. Recent discoveries have shed new light on the people behind this remarkable achievement. DNA analysis reveals that some of those buried at Stonehenge had ancestry linking them to the Mediterranean region, while others showed connections to various parts of Britain and Ireland. This genetic diversity suggests Stonehenge drew people from across the known world, serving as a focal point for communities separated by hundreds of miles. The logistical challenges alone would have required unprecedented cooperation. Moving a 30-ton stone across prehistoric Britain demanded not just muscle power, but careful planning of routes, construction of temporary infrastructure, and coordination of supplies for the workers. Teams would have needed to clear paths, build bridges across rivers, and create ramps for navigating hills and valleys. Consider the social organization necessary to sustain such efforts. Someone had to coordinate food supplies for work crews, organize housing for visitors from distant communities, and maintain the specialized knowledge required for each phase of construction. The project would have demanded leaders capable of inspiring sustained commitment across generations, keeping alive a vision that individual workers might never live to see completed. The monument's evolution over centuries reflects changing social structures and beliefs. Early phases focused on the circular earthwork and cremation cemetery, suggesting a society organized around ancestral veneration and collective memory. Later editions of the massive stone circles indicate growing ambition and perhaps centralized authority capable of mobilizing resources on an unprecedented scale. Trade networks revealed through archaeological finds demonstrate the far-reaching connections of Stonehenge's builders. Artifacts from distant regions appear in burials and settlement sites, indicating these weren't isolated communities, but part of sophisticated exchange systems spanning much of Europe. The monument may have served as a central hub in these networks, a place where distant communities could meet and trade both goods and ideas. The seasonal nature of construction work would have created rhythms of gathering and dispersal that shaped social life across the region. During building seasons, the area around Stonehenge would have bustled with activity as crews arrived from various communities. Archaeological evidence of temporary structures and increased food consumption supports this picture of periodic massive gatherings focused on monument construction. These gatherings would have served multiple purposes beyond the immediate work. They provided opportunities for young people to meet potential partners from other communities, for craftspeople to share techniques and innovations, and for leaders to negotiate alliances and resolve disputes. Stonehenge became not just a monument, but a catalyst for social development across prehistoric Britain. The monument's acoustic properties suggest its builders understood principles of sound engineering that enhanced its function as a gathering place. Voices speaking from the center carried clearly to listeners positioned around the circle, while musical instruments produced haunting reverberations that added mystical qualities to ceremonies. These effects would have seemed supernatural to people experiencing them for the first time. The careful positioning of stones to frame celestial events reveals sophisticated observational astronomy. The builders tracked solar and lunar movements with precision that allowed them to predict seasonal changes and important dates in their ritual calendar. This knowledge would have given Stonehenge's keepers significant influence over surrounding agricultural communities, dependent on accurate timing for planting and harvesting. Some researchers propose that Stonehenge served as an ancient teaching institution where astronomical and mathematical knowledge was preserved and transmitted. The monument itself functioned as a three-dimensional textbook, with each stone position encoding specific information about celestial movements. Students could learn complex concepts by walking among the stones and observing their relationships to sky events. The healing theory gains credibility when considered alongside evidence of the monument's reputation as a place of special power. The bluestone quarries in Wales were associated with sacred springs, believed to possess curative properties. By transporting these particular stones to Stonehenge, the builders may have intended to concentrate and amplify their healing energies. Bodies found near the monument show evidence of various ailments and injuries that might have motivated long journeys seeking miraculous cures. The combination of sacred stones, powerful ceremonies, and the psychological impact of participating in ancient rituals could have provided genuine therapeutic benefits to desperate pilgrims seeking relief from suffering. The monument's connection to water adds another layer to its possible healing functions. The area around Stonehenge contains numerous springs and streams that would have been considered sacred by ancient peoples. Water has always held special significance in human cultures, representing purification, renewal, and the life force itself. Ceremonies combining sacred stones with holy water could have been particularly powerful for ancient minds seeking healing and spiritual transformation. Archaeological evidence of metalworking in the area suggests Stonehenge may have been associated with technological innovation as well as spiritual practice. The transition from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age was occurring during the monument's main construction phases, and the social networks centered on Stonehenge may have facilitated the spread of new metallurgical techniques across Britain. The monument's builders demonstrated remarkable engineering innovation in solving unprecedented construction challenges. They developed techniques for moving massive stones that wouldn't be improved upon for millennia. The joints carved into the trilithons show understanding of structural principles that ensured the monument's survival through earthquakes, storms, and human interference. Recent acoustic research has revealed that Stonehenge's builders may have understood principles of sound engineering that modern architects are only beginning to appreciate. The monument creates specific acoustic effects that enhance both speech and music, suggesting it was designed as much for auditory experiences as visual spectacle. These properties would have made ceremonies held within the circle particularly memorable and emotionally powerful. The discovery that many bluestones produce musical tones when struck opens intriguing possibilities about the monument's ceremonial use. If ancient peoples were aware of these acoustic properties, Stonehenge may have functioned as a massive musical instrument capable of producing complex harmonies during religious ceremonies. The effort required to transport these particular stones across such distances makes more sense if they possessed unique properties unavailable elsewhere. The monument's evolution reflects changing relationships between communities across prehistoric Britain. Early phases suggest relatively egalitarian societies focused on collective ancestor worship. Later additions indicate growing social stratification and centralized authority capable of organizing massive construction projects. Stonehenge both reflected and shaped these social transformations over centuries of use. The site's continued significance through multiple cultural transitions demonstrates its deep psychological and spiritual power. Even as the original builders were replaced by new peoples with different beliefs and customs, Stonehenge retained its sacred character. This continuity suggests the monument tapped into fundamental human needs that transcend specific cultural expressions. Modern theories about Stonehenge often reveal more about contemporary concerns than ancient realities. Each generation has projected its own hopes, fears, and interests onto these mysterious stones, seeing in them reflections of current preoccupations. This process of reinterpretation continues today as new archaeological techniques reveal fresh insights about the monument's builders and purposes. The enduring mystery of Stonehenge reminds us that some aspects of human experience may forever remain beyond complete understanding. Despite centuries of study and increasingly sophisticated analytical techniques, the monument retains its power to inspire wonder and speculation. Perhaps this mystery itself was part of the builder's intention, creating something that would continue to challenge and intrigue future generations, long after their own civilization had passed into history. The monument stands today as testament to human ambition and ingenuity, proof that our ancient ancestors possessed capabilities and knowledge that continue to surprise us. In its silent stones, we glimpse shadows of minds that could conceive and execute projects of staggering complexity using only the most basic tools. Stonehenge challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about prehistoric human capabilities and the sophisticated societies that flourished in ancient Britain. As we reach the end of our journey through time, Stonehenge remains as enigmatic as ever, its weathered stones holding secrets that may never be fully revealed. Perhaps that's exactly as it should be. The monument stands as a testament to human ambition and mystery, reminding us that some questions are more powerful than their answers. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, let your mind wander among those ancient stones and dream of the countless generations who gazed upon them in wonder just as we do today.